When I step into the cage of life, I don't think about money. I don't think about fame. I think about purpose. Because when then the lights fade and the crowd goes silent, it's not the numbers in your bank account that define you. It's the man you become when no one is watching. Too many people fight for a paycheck, but the ones who last, the ones who build something eternal, they fight for something far deeper. I was taught that discipline beats desire, that control is stronger than chaos, and that respect weighs more than gold. Every morning, I wake up not to prove I'm better than someone else, but to prove I'm better than who I was yesterday. True success is driven by purpose, not by money or fame. When a person's vision is built on something greater than personal gain, their journey transforms from a chase into a calling. Money may buy comfort, fame may bring recognition, but neither can sustain the soul when the struggle gets hard. Those who fight only for wealth or reputation often burn out when challenges rise because their motivation is fragile. It depends on external rewards that can vanish in a moment. But when your motivation comes from a deeper purpose, something rooted in belief, principle, or legacy, you become unbreakable. You no longer fight to impress others, you fight to fulfill what you believe you were meant to do. That purpose becomes the compass that guides you when the world doubts you, when pressure mounts, and when your body wants to quit, but your heart refuses to surrender. A man with purpose walks differently. He doesn't rush to chase attention because he knows attention fades. He doesn't fear being misunderstood because he isn't living for approval. His discipline doesn't come from wanting to be seen. It comes from wanting to become. In every great story, whether it's in sports, business, or life, you'll find that the true champions weren't driven by greed. They were fueled by something sacred inside them. It might be faith, a promise to their family, or a mission to prove that integrity still matters in a world obsessed with quick rewards. That kind of fire doesn't burn out when money runs low or when applause disappears. It only grows stronger with every challenge. Money can motivate, but it cannot define purpose. Fame can bring attention, but it cannot bring peace. Many people reach the top only to realize how empty it feels when the purpose behind their journey was hollow. You can have millions in your account and still feel poor in spirit. You can have crowds chanting your name and still feel unseen. But when you live with purpose, every small act carries meaning. Every step, every sacrifice, every sleepless night becomes a part of something bigger. Purpose gives you direction when everything else seems uncertain. It gives you focus when distractions pull you in every direction. It builds a kind of strength that no one can take away from you because it's built from within. When you fight for money, your limits are clear. Once you earn enough, you slow down because the hunger fades. But when you fight for purpose, the hunger never dies. It evolves. You don't stop when you achieve something. You keep going because your mission isn't complete. Purpose gives you the courage to face pain and the patience to wait for the right moment. It helps you make decisions that align with your values, not your ego. And that is where true greatness begins. Not when you win the world's applause, when you win the battle within yourself. In the quiet moments, when no one is watching, purpose becomes your voice. It tells you to get up and train when you're tired, to stay humble when you succeed, to stay respectful even when provoked. That's what separates those who last from those who fade. People often think success is about talent or opportunity, but the truth is, it's about why you do what you do. A strong why will carry you through every how. If your reason is money, you'll quit when things get hard. But if your reason is built on something spiritual, moral, or deeply personal, quitting never becomes an option. You may lose fights, you may lose people, you may even lose comfort, but you'll never lose your direction. Those who fight with purpose inspire others even without trying. Their calmness in chaos, their focus under pressure, their humility in victory. It all comes from knowing their value isn't tied to the outcome. Whether they win or lose, they remain grounded because their purpose never changes. They are not chasing trophies, they are living out principles. And in the end, that's what gives their story meaning. People remember not what they earned, but what they stood for. They remember the discipline, the character, the unwavering faith. That's the kind of success that doesn't end when the spotlight turns off. It's the kind that echoes long after you're gone because it was built on truth, not desire. Discipline and humility are the roots of lasting greatness. No matter how much talent or strength a person has, without discipline, it all collapses. Discipline is what keeps you steady when emotions rise and when distractions surround you. It's the quiet force that pushes you to wake up before the sun, to train when you don't feel like it, to stay focused when others lose their way. Discipline doesn't seek attention, it builds foundations. It shapes the body, but more importantly, it shapes the mind. A disciplined person doesn't need to talk about what they will do. They simply do it every single day without excuses. Greatness is never an accident. It's the result of countless disciplined decisions that most people will never see. But discipline alone is not enough without humility. Humility keeps the heart clean. It reminds you that no matter how far you go, there's always room to grow. It protects you from pride, which destroys faster than any opponent. Pride blinds you, humility opens your eyes. A humble person can learn from anyone, from victory and defeat, from friends and rivals. When you carry humility, you stay teachable, grounded, and calm. It keeps your spirit strong because you don't see yourself as above others. You see yourself as part of a greater purpose. In a world where many people crave recognition, humility is rare, but it's the quiet power that makes discipline meaningful. Discipline builds control, and humility ensures that control is used wisely. Together, they form the heart of true success. Without discipline, ambition turns to chaos. Without humility, success turns to arrogance. But when both are present, you find balance. You know when to push and when to pause, when to speak and when to stay silent, when to lead and when to listen. The greatest warriors are not the loudest, they are the most disciplined and humble. They don't need to announce their strength because their actions speak louder than any words could. Every moment of restraint, every act of patience, every humble choice in the face of pride is what builds a person's legacy. Discipline is not something you switch on when you feel motivated. It's something you live by even when you feel nothing. It's the habit of showing up, training your mind and body to obey principles, not moods. The disciplined person keeps going even when the excitement is gone because their commitment is stronger than their emotions. They understand that results come slowly and they trust the process. They don't seek shortcuts because they know real growth takes time. And when that growth finally comes, it's unshakable. No failure can destroy what discipline has built over years of consistency. Humility, on the other hand, gives meaning to all that effort. It keeps success from becoming poison. It reminds you to stay grateful, to thank those who helped, to respect those who competed, to honor those who came before you. Humility doesn't mean weakness. It means strength under control. It means knowing your worth without needing to prove it every moment. A humble person walks quietly but leaves deep footprints. Their energy inspires without boasting. Their confidence radiates without arrogance. When humility guides you, you don't see others as threats. You see them as reminders that everyone is fighting their own battle. Discipline makes you strong enough to achieve greatness, but humility makes you wise enough to handle it. Many people reach success but fail to stay there because they lose humility along the way. They forget where they came from, stop listening, and start believing they are untouchable. That's when downfall begins. The higher you rise, the more important humility becomes because it's what keeps you grounded when the world starts lifting you up. It's easy to be humble when you have nothing. True humility is tested when you have everything. When you live with discipline and humility, every victory feels earned, not owed. You don't depend on applause because your satisfaction comes from effort, not approval. You become dangerous not because of your power, but because of your self control. You stop reacting to everything. Instead, you move with purpose. You learn that silence is strength, that patience is mastery, and that the real fight is not against others but against your own ego. The combination of discipline and humility turns you into someone unstoppable, not because you never fail, but because you never lose yourself, no matter what happens. The legacy of any great person is not measured by what they achieved, but by how they carried themselves while achieving it. Discipline built their achievements, but humility preserved their honor. Together, they make greatness not just temporary success, but a lifelong example for others to follow. And that's why discipline and humility are not just habits, they are a way of life, the unshakable foundation of a greatness that never fades. Strength means mastering yourself before conquering others. The greatest battles in life are not fought in arenas, rings, or cages. They are fought within the mind and the heart every day. A person faces invisible opponents, fear, doubt, ego, temptation, and laziness. These are the true enemies that separate the disciplined from the distracted, the focused from the fragile. Before anyone can defeat another person, they must first win against themselves. Self mastery is not about control over others, it's about control over one's impulses, emotions, and reactions. It's about learning to stay calm when anger tempts you, to stay patient when pride calls you to respond, and to keep your direction when life tries to pull you away from it. Real strength is not shown through aggression or loudness. It's revealed through composure, through the ability to stay centered in chaos. Anyone can act tough when everything is easy, but true strength appears when things fall apart and you still move forward with discipline. It's in the moments when you want to quit, but keep going, when you want to speak out of emotion, but choose silence instead. Mastery over self means you are not a slave to your moods or desires. You are guided by purpose and principle. When you reach that level, no one can truly defeat you because your strength doesn't depend on the outside world. It comes from within. The journey to self mastery is not easy. It requires honesty because you can't fix what you refuse to face. Many people fear being alone with their thoughts, so they fill their days with noise, distractions, and comparisons. But those who seek true power spend time understanding themselves. They study their weaknesses like a student studies a lesson. They admit where they fall short and work quietly to improve. This humility to confront one's flaws is itself a sign of strength. You can't conquer your world if you haven't conquered your emotions. You can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. Mastery begins the moment you stop blaming circumstances and start taking responsibility. When you master yourself, your energy becomes focused. Instead of wasting time reacting to every situation, you respond with clarity. You stop chasing validation because your self worth no longer depends on opinions. You no longer get lost in competition because your fight is internal. You train harder not because you hate others, but because you love growth. You stop comparing your chapter to someone else's story and start building your own with patience. The mind becomes sharper, the heart becomes calmer, and your spirit grows unshakable. That is when real confidence is born, not from showing strength, but from knowing it deeply. Those who have not mastered themselves are controlled by impulses. They react quickly, speak without thought, and make decisions out of ego. They are easy to provoke because their emotions hold the leash. But those who master themselves are not easily shaken. They may feel anger, pain, or fear, but they don't let those feelings decide their actions. They pause, think, and act with discipline. That pause, that space between emotion and reaction, is where power lives. It's where maturity grows. Self control is not about suppressing emotion, it's about channeling it into something productive. It's learning to use emotion as fuel, not as fire that burns everything around you. To master yourself, you must accept that growth is uncomfortable. You must face moments of loneliness, moments where discipline feels like pain. But each moment you resist the urge to quit, you strengthen the muscle of control. Over time, it becomes natural. You don't need to force calmness. It becomes your nature. You don't need to prove strength. It becomes visible in how you carry yourself. The person who controls their mind holds more power than the one who controls 1,000 men. Because even if the world turns against them, they don't lose their direction. They don't need approval, applause, or validation to continue. Their mission itself is enough. The true warrior is not defined by victories over others, but by victories over the self. When you can remain kind when provoked, disciplined when tired, humble when praised, and strong when broken, you have achieved mastery. You can walk through chaos without being shaken because peace lives within you. That's the highest level of strength, not to dominate others, but to rule your own mind and emotions. The greatest conquerors in history learned this truth. The one who controls himself can control any situation. Mastery over self is the key that opens every door in life, the invisible armor that protects you when everything else fails. It's what transforms a fighter into a leader, a competitor into a legend, and a human being into a force of unbreakable will. Legacy is built on values, not material wealth. The true measure of a person's life isn't what they collect, but what they leave behind in the hearts and minds of others. Money fades, fame disappears, possessions lose their shine, but values endure through generations. A man who lives by principles leaves a mark that no storm can erase. The world might remember your achievements for a short while, but it remembers your character forever. What defines you is not how much you earned, but how you earned it, not how many people applauded you, but how many you inspired, not how large your house was, but how strong your foundation of values remained when the world tested you. Real legacy begins the moment you choose integrity over convenience, respect over arrogance, and truth over comfort. Many people chase wealth thinking it will secure their place in history, but history forgets the rich who lack purpose. It remembers the ones who stood for something beyond themselves. Wealth can buy recognition, but it cannot buy respect. It can open doors, but it cannot open hearts. A person guided by values earns something that no amount of money can purchase: trust, love, and honor. Those are the currencies that never lose value. When you live by values like honesty, discipline, humility, and faith, every action becomes a message, every decision a lesson. You might not always be the loudest or the most celebrated, but your example speaks louder than any fame could. Legacy is built through consistency. You can't live by your values one day and abandon them the next when it's hard. The world watches not how you behave when you win, but how you react when you lose. The moments of pressure reveal who you really are. Anyone can smile in success, but only a person of true values stands tall in adversity. That's when your character becomes your voice. The people who build legacies don't change their principles to fit their goals. They shape their goals around their principles. They understand that values are not flexible, they are sacred. Even if it costs them opportunities, they refuse to compromise their integrity. And because of that, their name carries weight long after they are gone. When you build life on material things, You constantly fear losing them. But when you build on values, you gain peace that no one can take away. Values give direction when fame confuses you, and they give balance when success tempts you to forget your roots. The person who remembers where they came from never gets lost, no matter how far they go. Material success might bring temporary comfort, but living by your values brings lasting satisfaction. It gives you the kind of confidence that doesn't need to be shown, it's felt. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth because your actions already do. Legacy is not something you leave when you die, it's something you build every day. It's in how you treat people, how you handle failure, how you use power when you have it. The world doesn't remember how rich someone was, it remembers how they made others feel. A person who lives by values inspires others to do the same, creating a chain that continues long after they are gone. You can measure wealth by numbers, but you measure legacy by influence, the positive impact you leave behind. When you choose to stand by your values, even when it costs you, you teach others that doing the right thing is more important than doing the easy thing. Living by values takes courage because the world often rewards the opposite. It celebrates quick success, shortcuts, and fame without foundation. But those who stay loyal to their principles build slowly, steadily, and strongly. Their rise might not be fast, but it is firm. They don't chase trends, they follow timeless truths. Their discipline and patience become a silent reminder that character matters more than comfort. When people speak about them, they don't talk about their possessions, they talk about their honesty, humility, and the strength of their word. That's how real legacy is written, not in contracts or bank accounts, but in hearts. At the end of life, everything external fades away. The applause stops, the money shifts,